Ever try to throw something away and it just keeps coming back like a boomerang you just can't get rid of?
That's PFAS in a nutshell, right? Except it's less of a fun toy and more of a
persistent problem.
Exactly. And that's what makes this deep dive so interesting. We're looking into GreenFlow, a company that claims they can handle these so-called forever chemicals.
Yeah, and we asked you to look into this one, listener, so thanks for the challenge. GreenFlow's marketing makes it sound like they've got this whole PFAS disposal thing down to a science. Safe, eco-friendly, compliant.
All the right buzzwords, for sure. But as always, we've got to look beyond the marketing and see what's really going on.
Right, because we know PFAS is a whole family of chemicals, not just one thing.
Per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. Try saying that 3 times fast.
Not gonna happen. But the point is, they're designed to be tough, which is great for, like, nonstick pans.
But not so great when those chemicals end up in our soil and water. That's where the whole forever part gets a little scary.
Okay, so we've got these super persistent chemicals, and GreenFlow says, no problem, we'll take care of it. But how?
That's where things get interesting. They highlight risk mitigation and these customized service plans, which, to me, speaks volumes about who their target audience is.
Companies that are kind of freaking out about the PFAS they've been using, right?
Exactly. They're worried about liability, lawsuits, damage to their reputation.
Not to mention the whole, contaminating the environment thing.
Of course.
Huh.
But from a business perspective, those long-term consequences are a major concern.
So, GreenFlow swoops in with promises of making those PFAS worries disappear. But their process overview is surprisingly vague.
They lay out these steps. Identification, collection, transportation, processing, documentation. Sounds good on paper.
Organized, right?
Sure, but it's very light on specifics, especially when they get to that advanced processing stage.
Yeah, what does that even mean? Are they zapping these chemicals with lasers, neutralizing them with some secret formula?
We're left wondering, are they using incineration, which, by the way, can create other hazardous byproducts? Are they doing something truly cutting edge?
It's like they're saying, trust us, it's all eco-friendly, but without actually explaining how.
And that's what we need to unpack. Because without transparency, how can we, or anyone, really assess the effectiveness or the true environmental impact of their methods?
It's a bit like, hey, we'll take your toxic trash, but don't worry, we planted a tree over there.
Right, like that somehow makes up for everything. And it really highlights something crucial about, well, pretty much all the solutions we have right now for PFAS. They're limited. Even if GreenFlow's methods are amazing, top of the line, perfectly safe, we're still dealing with the PFAS that's already out there.
You're talking about the PFAS already in the environment, right? Not just what GreenFlow is handling today.
Exactly. Landfills, groundwater, it doesn't just magically disappear. These chemicals can stick around for, well, we've said it a lot already, forever. And they build up.
So it's not just about disposing of new PFAS safely, it's also dealing with the mess we've already made. How do you even begin to clean that up?
It's a massive challenge, and honestly, there's no easy answer, no single solution that just works everywhere. Some scientists are looking into things like filtration systems, using activated carbon to pull PFAS out of water.
Like a giant Brita filter for, like, a whole lake?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Others are trying to figure out ways to break down PFAS chemically, make them less harmful.
So are we talking like some sci-fi chemical reaction that neutralizes these forever chemicals?
It does sound a bit futuristic, yeah. But the thing is, these technologies are still being developed. They're expensive. We don't know how well they'll work long term. And then there's the whole regulatory side of things.
Because companies aren't exactly lining up to stop using PFAS just because it's the right thing to do, right?
Right. We need stricter rules about PFAS use to prevent more contamination and to encourage or even force companies to find safer alternatives. Some governments are starting to phase out PFAS in certain products, but it's slow going.
So is it a waiting game then? Waiting for science to catch up, for the laws to change, for companies to do something different?
It can feel that way, yeah. But it's not about passively waiting. We need to be paying attention, making informed choices, and challenging the status quo. We can't rely on companies like GreenFlow to solve a problem they're profiting from.
That's a good point. It's like that saying, who watches the watchman? But in this case, who's making sure that eco-friendly companies are actually being eco-friendly?
Exactly. And that's where everyone, including our listener, comes in. The more we understand about this, about PFAS and how it's disposed of, the better we can advocate for real change.
So, listener, we've thrown a lot of information at you about PFAS. What are we really left with? after this deep dive?
Well, GreenFlow wants us to believe they have this all figured out. But I think there are more questions than answers, honestly.
It's giving very much, move along, nothing to see here vibes.
Right. And that's precisely why we can't just take their word for it. We have to keep digging, keep asking the tough questions.
Like, what happens to all this PFAS they're collecting? Where does it actually end up in the long run?
Exactly. And what about the stuff that's already out there? GreenFlow is not responsible for cleaning that up, but someone has to be.
It's like they're trying to sell us the idea of a clean future while standing on a mountain of past mistakes.
And that's the bigger picture we can't afford to lose sight of. Disposal is just one piece of the puzzle. We need to be thinking about prevention, about alternatives to PFAS altogether.
And what about us, the consumers? We're not scientists or policymakers, so what can we even do about this?
Don't underestimate the power of being an informed consumer. You can research products, look for PFAS-free options, support companies that are trying to do the right thing.
So it's about voting with our wallets, but also being aware of the bigger picture and pushing for change at a higher level.
Exactly. It's about understanding the problem, making informed choices, and demanding better from the companies that create these chemicals in the first place.
That's a great point to end on, I think. We can't just assume someone else will fix this. It's on all of us to stay informed, stay engaged, and keep asking those tough questions.
Absolutely. The more we know about PFAS, the better equipped we'll be to create a future free of these forever chemicals.
And on that note, listener, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Keep learning, keep questioning, and we'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration.